like I said, you can roll out any platform of, doing JSAs, job training, and measuring safety performance. But if it's not controlled efficiently, and if it's not maintained, and if it's not bought out from the top level down, then I would even argue it needs to be brought up from the bottom level up. Like top down, you have your CEOs and whoever's on this call coming in, like, yeah, we're gonna implement this program. This is great. It's gonna be this awesome technology. But if you don't have the folks that are the boots on the ground that understand the importance of how it's going to impact them, then it's going to fail. Like as soon as you get a safety, I have a colleague that's kind of, going through something like this like now, where it's like, if you get into a function of safety where, you don't have the support from both ends of the spectrum, the system's it's going to fail, similar to like any other type of organizational or government structure. And the other aspect of when you're talking about measuring efficiency and performance safety measures, a very dear friend of mine said probably some of the most wisest advice I've ever heard in my career. And this was many years ago. And the advice he gave me was, our role is not revenue generating. Our role is an overhead cost, similar to like a maintenance person. Like it's necessary, it's needed, but you're kind of to an extent on the sidelines unless something happens. And what companies, like Intellect and these other software companies have managed to help folks like myself in these roles is you've helped me to redefine the dynamic of my role, where it's not a, sit here and wait for something to happen. It's a do everything you possibly can to prevent it from happening, because you're able to see that, okay, if I invest, X amount of dollars in this, say, PPE program, all right, the return on investment for it is going to be tenfold, because the amount of injuries that we had, because we were efficiently collecting data, shows that we spent, $10,000 in hand injuries last year. Before the technology aspect, it was me sitting here saying, we need to buy these. Why? Well, Bob got hurt. Okay, well, Bob can buy a new pair of gloves. Bob can go to the hospital. Well, no, Bob got hurt. Bob was off work for 3 days. Those 3 days cost this much money. That's how much downtime and labor it was. It all leads back to the technology shows a way to make my job easier.
I think we've always been considered a function of cost avoidance, and we've never been really great at understanding what our return on investment is, right? We're understanding that better now. Some of it purely because we're understanding data, much differently, so we can prove, ROI. So I appreciate your comments on that, Allie. Scott, what do you see as the big idea in construction?
One is, Allie, you made a comment, hey, we're not a revenue stream for the company. And that's very, very true. One of the things we were able to do with our safety management system was to be able to bring in costs of the actual hard cost of the loss, right? The injury. Mm-hmm. And we would calculate that out over man hours to come up with a lost cost per man hour, we called it, which was, I felt like a much better indicator than TRIR, because, sure, a finger stitch is recordable, and so is an amputation. I got back to work the next day. Two different events. The costs are completely different. What I would share with my leadership team is, because they never did quite get the ROI on buying gloves, right? They just never quite bought into that. It was, construction's a low margin business. As a GC CM in South Florida, we were a 3.5%, 4% margin business. Mm-hmm. So $100,000 loss for a back injury is, that's $3 million worth of work you got to put in place. So I leveraged that number in our iteration of Intellect to take it back to the operations team, and they did understand that oh my gosh, I got, and in some cases like oh we just built $100 million building over the course of a year. We built that building for free because of the losses we had, because we were basically a self-funded, self-insured company.